Hey there everyone, Toby Pittman here, back on audiotouchplus.com with another screencast. And the topic of this tutorial is like a basic overview of Logic's score editor. Now, we're going to learn how to print out a very simple song, just get you acquainted with some of the features of the score editor. Now, I know this isn't a very hot topic. There's not really a lot out there about the score editor. Now, I don't know whether this comes down to the fact that you have to look at written music. Now, this might scare some people. Not everybody reads music, and that's fine, okay? You know, you don't have to read music to write music. But it is an incredibly useful skill to have, or at least a basic understanding of it. Just for the fact that, you know, notation is the written language of music, and you know, musicians read music. You know, certain musicians that you work with will only read music. A good example of that is like a string section, a brass section. You know, although those players may be great improvisers, especially when you think of brass players, most brass players are interested in like jazz and you know, funk, that sort of stuff. So they're good improvisers and can probably, you know, mock something up on the spot. When you deal with string players or players that come from a really strict musical background, the only way forward with musicians of that ilk, as it were, is to notate your parts for them. You can't hire a string section and go, all right, you know, guys, the chords are C, G, and F. Off you go. Just make it up as you go along, because it'll end up in a complete disaster. And if you're paying for a string section, you're going to want to get the job done as quickly as possible. And the only way to do that is to notate the parts out for them. Now, this tutorial came about. I've been doing a lot of score editing lately. I had to transcribe some album parts for a gig that happened at the Electric Proms last week here in the UK. My job was to, you know, get the album, write the parts out, so the guys on stage had an idea of what was going on. So I just thought this would be a good thing to share, and you know, and it's a very good skill to have, no matter what DAW you're working in. You know, I know Pro Tools 8 has now got scoring facilities. You know, Cubase definitely has. You'll find that things like Ableton and Reason, which are more kind of dance production based kind of applications, don't need scoring facilities. You know, you can't score something that says loop 1 for 1 bar, loop 2 for 2 bars, you know. So don't worry if you're kind of musically illiterate, as it were. I mean, I read music, but I wouldn't call myself a great reader. But I understand the staff and, you know, notation markings and that sort of stuff. But like I said, I'm not a great reader, so you know, Logic is a very useful tool because it'll do all the hard work for you. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the actual score page. Now we're looking at this in page view. There are actually two views in the score editor. The page view button is this little blue button up here. Now if I untick that, you'll see that I have a linear kind of representation of my music. You know, if my song was 100 bars long, it would stretch all the way out here in a linear fashion. But seeing as the point of this tutorial is to actually get something that we can print out, page view is pretty much a must for this type of work. You know, you have pages with numbers, and you know, it's just, you know, if you want to print it out, you can't print out something that's linear. Okay, now this is a very, very standard song format. We have a little ditty here that I've done called the Touch Plus theme. And now, for legal reasons, I am saying this is based on Good Morning to All, which is an old nursery rhyme. Now, most of you will know this as Happy Birthday. But I couldn't use Happy Birthday because it's under copyright. Can you believe that? It's actually a breach of copyright to sing it in public, even. and you will have to pay Warner a royalty on that. But it is an exact rip of an old nursery rhyme, so I don't know how they got away with that. But and I've changed the lyrics here just to reflect our love of the Tuts Plus network here. So this is very basic. It's a very basic piece of music. This is not about credibility or anything like that. It's just there to give as an example of how we get from A to B. So I'll just give you a quick blast of it. Here we go. Hold on to your hats. Okay, pretty groundbreaking stuff there. Okay, so maybe your 4-year-old will enjoy it. But you know, I sort of spent a lot of time on this, obviously, and you know, just to give me that extra push over the edge. I did use a couple of plugins from sonicfinger.com. You might want to check them out. The Virtual Studio Visitor, just to give it a more light feel. I you know, added the presence of a clown here, mixed in with the wizard. You know, always good to have a clown and a wizard when you're doing nursery rhymes in the studio, and this emulates them perfectly. Here you can see the resentful wife, girlfriend preset here. I'm just adding a bit of tension to the track if you need it, you know. So you can check them out. Great plugins. The Dead Quietinator, obviously one of my favourites. And the Virtual Home Studio Modeler, which is pretty much a must-have. So yeah, check those out. Okay, so back in Logic here. Now, some other things that we're going to need to add to this score is some information material. You know, I've got the title here. I've got some little chord boxes. I've got my you know, writer information here, and like a little tempo indicator for the musician. I've also got some chord boxes or some chord symbols here, and we're going to be using global tracks for that. And now I've got my melody that's notated and some lyrics. Now the lyrics were inputted with a lyric tool, which is very handy, and we'll come to that later on. And here I have just a very basic piano accompaniment here. Now I'm going to go over the explanation of how we format this, and you know, kind of some information on, you know, how scores or written music is presented. Now I'm going to split this up into 4 different videos, just so it's not so mind-numbingly boring to watch for about an hour. So if there's just something you want to learn, then you can just skip to that video. Now then, the first thing we're going to look at are the menus. Now the menus, a big part of the score editor is formatting. You know, how does the page look? How do you get the page to look like you want it? How do you get your staffs to look a certain way? And all of this is done in layout here. Now you can access these from settings as well. Page formatting options and these sort of thing are project based. They're not global to Logic, so you'll have to set them up for each project you do. You may want to create a template. You know, we have staff styles that you can, you know, choose the appearance of how your staff is presented. You know, names, numbers, tablature stuff, which I might get into later on. Next up is the edit menu. Now this is the same as it is in the piano roll, pretty much. Functions again, pretty much the same. You know, no overlap, correction, force, legato, all tried and tested there. Now attributes is only found in the score, and it deals with, you know, notation, the way notation looks, just sorting out some of the problems attached with notations. Here, enharmonic shift is a good example of this, for sorting out stray sharps and flats. Blah blah blah. There's loads of stuff in here. We'll go into some of that a little later on. And also your textiles. Now I don't mean denim or Burberry check here. I mean, the way your text is presented. You can see this title here is nice and bold, and I've created a style for that text, just like you would do in something like Word. And view is for showing your margins and just generally, sorting stuff out on your page. So they're the menus, pretty easy. Next up is the inspector. Now, this thing at the top that says all instruments, this is score sets. Now, score sets allow you to view or choose what parts you want viewed in the score editor. If you have like 10 MIDI parts, but 2 of them are redundant, you might not want to display them. So you can display a score set which has the 8 you want and the 2 you don't are omitted from that set. Next up we have the parameter boxes here. Now if I click on a staff here and highlight one, you can see this is let me change my quantize here. This is where you define the look of your staffs. You can see here that this vocal staff here is set to treble. It's got a treble clef on it. Down here, these are the insert defaults. When you insert some text, this will give you the default styling for that text. Now, the part box here, which is at the bottom, is probably the most important part, and this is where you add musical symbols. Now these are, pretty strict kind of classical symbols here, the way you would score out a symphony. If you felt like you wanted to do that, you would have everything here available to you that you needed to accomplish that goal. So here down the bottom you can see we've got loud and soft. Here are our text tools here with a little A. We've got repeats, time signatures, key signatures, which we're going to go over. Here we've got some guitar stuff, tab markings. And, that's pretty much it. If you're not sure about what any of this does, then don't worry about it. I mean, unless you're doing hardcore orchestration, you'll probably won't use many of these. You'll use the text tool and the signatures and that sort of thing. I know that let's leave a sonic finger there for a little bit. Wikipedia has some good pages on musical symbols, and there's everything there that you pretty much need to know if that's what you want to do. Now then, just one more thing to say really, or actually 2 more things. This is a very standard layout. Now, there is a function here. If I double click on the staff, it's going to take me into that part. Okay. On the arrange page here, you can see I have 2 parts. If I click on the first part, that's my melody. If I click on the second part here, that's my piano part. Okay. Now you'll notice when I click on the piano part, a lot of the information goes away, and that's because it's embedded into this melody part. Now I've kind of done this for a reason, and there are different ways of doing this, but this kind of gives me an option of how I want to present my score. What I've got here is the melody, the chords, and the lyrics, and this is enough for for me to give this to a somebody with a guitar, and they could probably sing this, and all the information is there. This is kind of what's known as a lead sheet. Now on Firefox I have a couple of things here. What you're seeing here is from the real book, and this is very popular with jazz musicians. It's a book of like hundreds and hundreds of songs. You could take it to a gig if you were a guitarist, singer, or if you a guitarist and a saxophone player, you could both read off the same page and make some music. And you've just got the chords here, and if you're out gigging as a musician, you can probably interpret these chords in a very nice way. Now what I've got here, the next up, is a kind of a step up from that, which is the same concept, just the chords and the melody, but now we've got the lyrics, and this is kind of what you're seeing here. Okay, Now then, just get back into Firefox. This is a pretty popular format as well. Probably the most popular though, is this format. Now this is the Van Halen keyboard songbook, which is just wrong. But here you can see we have, you know, the chords and the chord boxes, the melody line, the lyrics, and a written accompaniment to the music. So if you weren't the kind of musician that, you know, could just jam out a track by looking at the chord boxes, you know, there may be a chance that you could read the part as well. Now this is the most popular format of them all. Go into any music shop and open a songbook, and this is pretty much what you'll see. Okay, now here we have a little image of a full orchestral score. Okay, now this is pretty intense. Each one of these is a different part of the orchestra. Now there's no reason why you can't notate something like this in Logic. If you have the will to do it, I can assure you this can be accomplished as well. So it's pretty versatile, the score editor. You know, it can do anything from simple chord charts to full-on symphonies. It can do drum tablature. It has pretty powerful guitar tablature facilities, and like I say, I might go into that later on. So that about kind of wraps up the basic overview of it. So in the next video, which should be just below this one, we'll get into some page formatting and just learn how to set our pages up for printing. So I'll see you in that video.